So
I just would like to welcome everyone. We're so excited to the RISE launch with Winnipeg, CMHA Winnipeg, Manitoba. Before we get going, I would love to do a land acknowledgement. So I would like to acknowledge that I live in the Treaty 1 territory at the crossroads of the Anishinaabe, Métis, Cree, Dakota, and Oji-Cree nations on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe peoples and the homeland of the Métis Nation. With that, thank you. I would like to introduce to you Judy Sprinsky, who is our business advisor, and she would like to begin with introducing our partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Nellie. Welcome, everybody. We will get started on a few of the slides. This is RISE launch. We're new to Winnipeg. Next, please. Small businesses in Canada and Manitoba make up 98% of employer businesses and 42% of GDP and 48% of new jobs. Canada and Manitoba's recovery will depend on small businesses rebounding and new ones launching. 40% of Canadians report a decline in their mental health as a result of the pandemic, 61% for individuals with pre-existing health conditions. Next, please. When our agenda today will be, we'll talk a little bit about who RISE is, the CMHA Manitoba and Winnipeg connection, RISE, what RISE will offer, which is lending programs, training programs, volunteer support. We have a RISE client to give his perspective, and then we'll do a question and answer session following. RISE is a national organization. It was founded on the powerful idea that people struggling with mental health and or addiction challenges can overcome barriers to achieving a fulfilling career, greater social inclusion, and ultimately self-reliance. The story begins with Sandra Rotman, noted Canadian philanthropist and community leader. Sandra envisioned supporting people with a history of mental health and addiction challenges and believed that self-employment would be a path for individuals to re-engage with society while achieving independence. So developed the innovative idea of starting a loan fund to help people with a history of mental health and addiction to start their own businesses. Championed and supported with a generous donation by Sandra and Joseph Rotman, RISE was established in 2009 as a joint initiative of the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management and the Center for Addictions and Mental Health. RISE is headquartered at the Rotman School and is proudly supported by the Rotman community. This graph on your screen shows how loans and RISE has grown over the past few years, and we are still growing and expanding. Next, please. The Canadian Mental Health Association, Manitoba and Winnipeg, is very excited to introduce our partnership with RISE. This adds entrepreneurship to our continuum of employment supports. Starting in May 2021, CMHA Manitoba and Winnipeg began year one with RISE through a 3-year Bell Let's Talk initiative. Both RISE and CMHA Manitoba and Winnipeg align with their mission and values to support individuals with mental health and or addictions to regain a meaningful role, such as employment and self-employment. Employment is an integral part of recovery. Discovering or rediscovering one's meaningful role is impactful and one's recovery journal. RISE research shows that partnerships with mental health and addiction agencies to create customized individual supports, increasing successful outcomes for small businesses. CMHA Manitoba and Winnipeg has a province-wide mandate and is part of the national network of independent CMHAs, which presents new potential opportunities for RISE and promoting entrepreneurialism for people with a history of mental health and addictions. Next, please. As I stated, RISE is a national organization and with a range of services in 3 key areas. Low interest loans that allow clients to get their business ideas off the ground, and Nick will be speaking a little bit more about that. A business training, which Matt will talk a little bit more about that, and the mentorship program that Deanna will let us know a little bit more about that. Okay, next. RISE impact improves the mental health and recovery. In the short term, it's confidence, social skills, teamwork, and supports that they need to get up and get going. In the middle term, medium term, it's the interpersonal skills, the job creation that they provide, and meaningful employment. It takes them off of the social assistance reliance, and a lot of family stress is relieved. In the long term, it's a sense of purpose, quality of life, and social inclusion, and forms a reduction in the stigma that involves mental health. Okay, and Nick will introduce Nick. He is the lending program manager at RISE, and he will tell us a little bit more about the RISE lending programs and how they look. Nick?
Thank you, Judy, and welcome to everyone in the city, Winnipeg and Manitoba. I am in Toronto, so I'm very glad to virtually meet you all. So as Judy was mentioning, our small business lending program is for our clients who are looking to start a business, and we provide them support through financing, mentorship, and ongoing business advice and support. We provide that through business advisors like Judy, who will give support to clients writing and developing the business plan and a cash flow projection in order to get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 with an average size of about $4,000. As you can see on this slide, it is a low interest loan of prime plus 2.5%, and the term can be up to 5 years. And we really believe in the value of mentorship, so our clients all get matched up with a volunteer business mentor who will guide them through the first 12 months of their business. In terms of what the loan can be used for, it is really any element of starting or growing a business. So we have a list there on the slide, anything from equipment, insurance, inventory, business registration. Some of our clients don't have the access to funds to do so. So the RISE Small Business Lending Program is designed to help provide those key supports of starting a business in those early days. On the next slide, I'm going to talk about the actual process. So we are, a virtual team, but for our clients who will be in Winnipeg and Manitoba, there is an online intake form that they will need to fill out. They would then be matched with the business advisor, in this case, Judy, to understand the process and to start collecting some of the documentation that we need. The key element of this relationship with the client is this one-on-one process of developing that strong business plan and the cash flow forecast. We are a character-based lender. So we do look at the individual as much as we look at the business viability. So we are looking at a credit report, notice of assessment from the CRA, making sure that our clients are in good standing with their income taxes. In addition to collecting and developing the business plan, we collect information around the resume, citizenship, bank state, avoid check to deposit the money. And throughout that entire process, which takes anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, we come up with an application package that goes in front of our review committees. So a client will then get a review of their application, and this is championed by the business advisor, Judy in this case. If the client is successfully approved, they will be matched with a mentor from our volunteer database, and a series of meetings will be scheduled to ensure that the client is held accountable to their project and what they're hoping to achieve, but also for the mentor to provide some guidance and advice on pitfalls and things to look for in that important first year of business. Once the client is in our portfolio, we do require some reporting around on a quarterly basis to understand how the business is doing and if there are any other supports that are required by the client. So I wanted to just finish off my portion here by just sharing a little bit of what we look for in a client, what makes a good RISE client. Obviously, there is meeting those eligibility requirements, and the mental health and addiction and barriers to traditional financing are the two key pillars. This is a self-identification. We do not look for doctor's notes or proof of therapy or what have you. It is a self-declaration. We also want to ensure that our clients have a viable business idea and it is ready or close to making sales. This is a key important part of the program, is because it is a loan, because we are looking at the business becoming a vehicle for the clients to improve their livelihoods. We want to make sure that this business does have legs. So again, this is part of the value that the business advisor brings when they're working with the client, to make sure that what we propose at a review committee is a viable business. Again, this is a 6 to 8 week process about when working with a business advisor. So our clients have to be ready to work collaboratively and are coachable to take some feedback from the business advisor and be able to turn that into that strong business plan and cash flow. Finally, we know that there are positive entrepreneurial strengths and traits that we look for. People with self-confidence, time management, understanding basics of financial management. We also know that people are on that spectrum of readiness. So we work with everyone, and we want to make sure that they move closer towards their goals of starting and launching their business. And that's where RISE sits. So I will wrap up here and pass along to my colleague, Matt, who will talk about the training program, which is a bit of a precursor to the lending program.
Thank you very much, Nick, and thank you, Judy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Savulescu, and I'm the training programs manager at RISE. And today I would like to talk with you about 3 of the training programs that RISE offers that are of interest to entrepreneurs who find themselves in the early stages. The programs are aimed at those who are right now looking at developing a business plan and finding out more information about what supports they would need for their business. RISE has 3 training programs I mentioned. 2 of them that are aimed at youth, those who are 16 to 29 years of age. And the 3rd program, the Peer Supported Startup Program, is for those who find themselves to be 30 plus. First, I'm going to go and discuss the Enterprising Youth Program. It's a self-directed free online entrepreneurship course. It's accessible at enterprisingyouth.ca. And anyone between the age of 16 and 29 can register and follow the 15 online modules that cover the topics that are needed to complete a lean business plan. Throughout this process, participants follow a number of quizzes that help them learn more about the different elements of the business plan too. The website platform, enterprisingyouth.ca, it's accessible on a computer as well as on a tablet or a mobile phone. Yeah. The more enhanced version of the Enterprising Youth program, it's Enterprising Youth Plus. And there are 6 courses that are offered throughout the year from starting in September to March of next year. During the training program, which is 8 weeks, their class is once a week for 2 hours. And together with the facilitator, the training program participants, they work into going further into details about developing their business plan. At various times throughout the course, there are going to be a number of mentors and who are going to be joining to coach the participants in their respective area of business they're looking to develop. Also, we're going to have industry speakers come in and talk about their experience setting up their own business. Yeah. In terms of eligibility for this, we're looking for participants to be 16 to 29 years of age, have the practical idea to start their own for-profit business. And similar to for the lending program, we're just looking to those who self-identify as having experienced mental health and or addiction issues and are having difficulty accessing traditional bank financing for their small business. Yes, okay. And the programs offer a number of benefits, as we can see listed. It's importantly, it's in terms of the business development, just having that confidence that developed throughout the program to launch the business. We've had participants launch part-time as well as full-time businesses following the graduation from their program. The networking and coaching aspect too, that having coaches coming and helping participants in group settings or in one-on-one with their business needs, as well as for the participants, the opportunity to develop their own networks among one another too. And upon graduation from the program, successful graduates can apply for a low interest business rates loan from RISE. The program for those 30 plus, it's a peer supported startup program. It's an 8 weeks training program that meets twice a week for 2 hours. We have 2 upcoming dates in fall, starting in September as well as late October. It is similar as the Entrepreneurship Youth Plus program, but because the nature of the program is a bit more intense and it offers more opportunity for participants to work with a facilitator as well as with the coaches in order to develop a business plan. Similar to with the Enterprising Youth Plus program, in terms of program eligibility, just looking for those who have a practical idea to start and grow their own business. Again, self-identifying as having experienced mental health or addiction challenges and being unable to access traditional bank financing for their small business. And the program starts in September, as the dates listed, and the registration begins on July 12th. You can access the registration on the RISE website at risehelps.ca for that. Next, I would like to introduce my colleague, Diana. She's going to be talking about the RISE volunteers, their role with the organization.
Yes, thank you, Matt. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm so happy we're in this digital environment where we actually get a chance to, connect across the country. My name is Diana, and I work with the volunteers at RISE. I think by now you probably noticed the amount of programs we run and supports we provide, and we won't be able to do it without the volunteer supports, their time and energy. So over those years, we've actually benefited from the support of over 800 volunteers who supported our entrepreneurs at RISE, but also the organization overall. So I think it would be important to talk about who are the volunteers that are part of the RISE organization and community. So those are usually individuals who have a personal connection to the cause of mental health, addiction challenges, and entrepreneurship. Those who have minimum of 5 years for-profit business experience and can demonstrate tangible business skills and industry experience that can actually add a value to an entrepreneur's business. So we have, people from all walks of life, small business owners, marketing managers, finance, sales, business development operations, e-commerce, digital marketers, legal, supply chain managers, you name it. So anyone who can help and contribute to the business growth and the kickoff of the business is very welcome to be part of the RISE community as a volunteer. And also, we work with people who believe in the same cause and who, very empathetic and understanding of our client base. And, just people who want to make world a better place and believe in the power of entrepreneurship on the intersection with mental health and addiction challenges. So the volunteers at RISE, they can contribute in a very different roles. So Nick already mentioned that every participant of the lending program gets matched with a mentor, a business mentor who can help in the first year of business operations. And usually they meet with RISE Entrepreneur once a month over the span of 12 months. So for the first year of business operations, entrepreneur doesn't really feel left out because they're supported by the business mentor from the community. We have a variety of different coaches that support Matt's training program participants. So we have a peer coach. It's same kind of a person with a business experience, dedication to the cause, who we know is comfortable facilitating group discussion and supporting entrepreneurs in the very different stages of the business. So usually it's ideation and market research and the business plan development throughout the program. And something similar happens with the youth coach that assists youth who is exploring entrepreneurship as an opportunity, to have an employment and turn their passion into a viable business. So main supporters are mentors and coaches who are obviously volunteers with our community. I wanted to share a really nice story with you today about one of RISE's clients, Todd Simcover. Todd came to RISE in 2018 and he was looking for a small business loan to finance his autism self-advocacy consultancy services. Todd is an autism spectrum himself, so for him running a business, it's helping people with similar experiences to excel in life. And we've connected Todd with Syed Zainali, an experienced small business owner who had a few businesses himself. And, they really formed this invaluable bond because they first started meeting like once a month, and then it kind of switched to 2 times a month. And now like 3 years later, they're still in touch, even though the official engagement is 1 year. So stories like that happen. And we're very happy when something like that exists. Syed helped Todd to, focus his business and understand how to reach his audience and, position his business online, actually, that he's able to reach the right customer base. And Syed always says that Todd showed him the power of resilience and unique problem-solving approach that Todd applies in his life. So it's always kind of two-way communication where both mentor and the mentee learn something valuable in the experience. So if you know someone from the community who's great fit with to volunteer with RISE, or you're interested yourself, that's really amazing. We're very dedicated to growing the volunteer base in Winnipeg, Manitoba, because we believe in the power of community and also, the local volunteers who are knowledgeable about the business landscape is always a great addition to anyone's business operations. So the volunteer process is pretty easy. You'll just have to check out our website at risehelps.ca, fill out the volunteer application, which is a very straightforward and short application, and then we'll get in touch with you. So most often than not, it's going to be me who is having the first, chat to get an idea if we're a great match, talk a little bit about what RISE does. And then after that, if we decide that we are great together, we can send you additional onboarding materials, completing a brief online training module, signing the non-disclosure agreement so every entrepreneur at RISE feels safe with their information, and performing a background check. That is also a mandatory requirement of being a volunteer. And all done, then the volunteer is ready to change the life and hopefully support the business growth of a lot of clients that come to RISE. So thank you. It is really nice that you give me a chance to talk a little bit about RISE.
Thank you, Nick, Matt, and Deanna. Now I'd like to introduce a very special person. He is our first Manitoba RISE client. He worked with one of the BAs out of Sudbury, Ontario, because we weren't here at the point yet. But he's got an exciting story to tell, and he's a little bit of information on what it's like to be a RISE client. I'd like to introduce Chris McDonald. Chris?
Hi, Judy. Thanks. So like she said, my name's Chris and I own Usurper Studios here in Winnipeg. Myself, I've had some pretty rough years in my life, lots of accidents and stuff like that. And Winnipeg is a really tough market for employment. Lots of people end up leaving for Toronto or the West because of low wages and low opportunities. So there's always jobs in telemarketing, construction labor, the service industry, but a lot of the times you end up with scraps. They expect big sacrifices for $15 an hour. And when you have physical limitations, mental limitations, illness, injury, you know, a lot of the time you end up fighting with your employer or EI just because you couldn't give your firstborn child and personal sacrifices to these kinds of jobs. So it's a really tough market, and you try to expand your horizons a bit. I had my first kid, I realized I needed some economic security, so I went back to school for a degree, and that ended up costing me a 4-year job at a motorcycle dealer. So things are really tough, and employers don't really seem to care here in Winnipeg anyway for Tiny Tim stories anymore. But banks are worse. So you save up some life savings, you try doing something with your life, and most of the time, if you've had some credit blips or any problems with your history, they'll just say, hey, we'll give you a GIC, we'll lend you your own money back to you, and they basically give you the credit for the money you already earned. So, I mean, you looking at the economy, some of the things that happened, like the housing crash in 2008, I started asking myself, why am I just giving up my savings to some bank that's going to charge me interest on them? You know, who's really out there to help me? I've been with the same bank for 15 years, and the best they've done for me is set me up with a MasterCard. So it's hard enough asking for help with your problems, but where do you really turn when nobody seems to care about you? It's tough. If you don't come from a wealthy family and your employer isn't looking after you, the banks don't give you credit. It's a market fact that people are going to start taking more risks on their own. I know tons of people at companies who just end up going out solo for the very reason. So I decided, hey, I'll start my own studio, Usurper Studios. And I did this the year before the pandemic, thinking if I'm going to have to scrape by forever, it might as well be on my own terms. But, you know, music's always been my biggest passion. I drum, I play guitar, I sing, I play bass. So I did recording in high school, and I realized one day with all the money I spent on the year, I might as well be in business. Been playing in bands forever. And I've watched a really great music scene in Manitoba fail to get out there and flourish. So I knew I could really bring something to the table working with local bands, trying myself to get musicians a leg up and the opportunity to get on the road and tour than to, you know, just sound good. So I'm already past the first 3 rockiest years of being a business, and RISE was the first organization that really saw my potential. Now here I am selling my art for a living in a pandemic. So it's not working out so bad. The government says they offer, you know, quite a lot of programs right now to help people out, but having gone down that bridge, you know, you need the business plans together. You need to already be profitable, and a lot of the lending programs people just don't qualify for. So we need definitely private lenders to be out there for that very reason. I was out of my depth, you know, in a closed economy with no credit, and despite all the work and money I sunk in the last 2 years, I had to go out of province for help. So that's why I think Winnipeg really needs its own RISE office. This is a great thing that's happening. And at RISE not only helped me with, you know, when wallets weren't opening up to me, but she also taught me how to organize my ideas for people to invest in them. So there is going to be such a market for this service here in Winnipeg. It provides compassionate guidance while taking leaps of faith. This is the first lender I've dealt with that didn't let my credit score solely define my ability. Everything is catered to you, the borrower, and they make it easier than I ever thought it could be. So Usurper Studios is running stronger than it ever has. I finally got the doors open to greater financial opportunities, and I'm glad I can testify here today to the great work that RISE does. I only hope people can hear my story and help make RISE's new Winnipeg office an equally resounding success. So thanks so much, and that's about all I've got.
Thanks, Chris. That was an amazing story. Does anybody have any questions? You can just place them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll answer anything that you have.
While we're waiting for questions, Judy, I'd like to just say, part of what we're doing here today is, making that first foray into the community. So hopefully the information we shared with all of you, you'll be able to share with those in your network, identify whether it's clients or volunteers for RISE. And Judy is our Winnipeg representative on the ground. So thank you to CMHA for this partnership with RISE. And, again, looking forward to, if there are any specific questions about either the lending, training, or volunteer programs, we're happy to answer them here.
Go ahead, Hafiz.
I have a question for Chris, and I guess the rest of the RISE team, they can jump in at the end. What was it like developing the cash flow? Were they particularly difficult conversations, or was it something you were kind of already prepared for going into it?
What I would say is I had a lot of ideas for cash flow and a pretty diversified business model as it was, but she really helped me like take the stuff that was out there and bring it into, a feasible reality. Like I'm doing things right now. We've expanded into like video production, movie production. These are sort of things I didn't think was possible within, like, I thought we were going to be stuck to sort of one niche market and whatever else. So she really helped me develop a potential, potential projections and stuff like that, and a really diversified, successful business model on that sort of round. So, I mean, I think really at the end, they bring out what you have in yourself a lot better than always you can, just trying to put it to paper.
And Hafiz, that's a great question. I'll also add a little bit, and if you wanted to jump in and share some of this, we do work with clients at different levels of financial understanding and knowledge. So for those who are, knows this stuff on the back of their hand, we have a template we can just give them and they can fill it out. For other clients where, a little bit more of that, extracting some of that information and supporting them in developing it into an actual document that is used for our reviews is something that the business advisors do. And again, Anne, if you wanted to share any sort of experience, I know it's more on the Sudbury side, but in terms of translating some of those things into what we see at our review committee.
Really, I think you said it, Nick. It's just the fact that we can work with clients really at any level of comfort with numbers or financial spreadsheets. So, I mean, Chris, you were pretty comfortable to work with spreadsheets and do that kind of thing. We worked together on certain concepts and customizing them a bit. And then Chris was pretty good to work with them fine after that. But I have some clients who aren't. I have some clients that are number phobic. You get people that bring a lot already to the idea of working with numbers that is perhaps negative. And so then we work in a little bit different way. And as Nick said, pull some of the information out a little bit at a time and start to set it up into a financial scenario and just chat about what this really means and make it feel really straightforward and easy for them to understand. And the work the business advisor is, it varies depending on the ability. But yeah, we pretty much, I think, can help from all levels, can work with it.
Thank you, Anne. Are there any more questions?
I have a question in the chat. For the classes in the training program, the question was, are these in person? And Matt, I can pass that along to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. The classes are virtual. So they're going to be delivered via Zoom for this fall, and also looking at probably the winter too. Yeah.
How many people are in a class?
Okay, sure. So approximately 20 participants are in each of the classes. Yeah.
If I could just add one thing about the Zoom classes, what's really exciting that's happened since the pandemic is by putting all of these classes on Zoom, we have in our classrooms sometimes people from across the country. So I had the pleasure of teaching an EY Plus course this past winter, and to see the bonds made between people in different provinces and talking about their different experiences, it was a really exciting and heartwarming opportunity.
It's a great way also, as mentioned, to expand your network. So if you're a new entrepreneur and you're just starting up your business, it's good that you're going to be collaborating with so many people that they're also starting different businesses. I know that in the previous programs we had someone who was starting a digital marketing business, and some of their first clients were the participants in the class because they needed help with setting up their websites and social media presence, and yeah, that.
That's great. Thank you. That was my follow-up question. And
Yes.
it would seem that that's a natural byproduct, which is really fantastic.
Yeah.
If there's no more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And you've got my email there and my phone number. So if you'd like any questions or concerns afterwards, please give me a call or send me an email, and I'd be happy to answer them or transfer them to somebody who can. Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.